Welcome Hurricanes fans around the world and even the haters as well, because I know you guys are going to be here in today's video because the first scrimmage of spring has happened. It was today. It's actually already over. You guys missed it, but it's okay because we are here to cover all of the stats from scrimmage number 1 today. I'm going to do my best to hit the big numbers, you know, the skill positions, the quarterback's defensive stats. We can't get them all, of course, because there's just stats on stats on stats. But I'm going to throw the big ones at you guys so we can talk about them. So without further ado, let's hop into the video. Now again, this is going to be primarily a stat video, so if you don't like numbers, you might want to skip ahead a little bit, but I'm going to be throwing lots of numbers at you probably pretty quickly. So again, at the end, I'll kind of talk about it some more, give my thoughts on it as well. But kicking off the spring scrimmage number 1 stats video, we're going to cover the quarterbacks. Malik Rozier was 8 for 17 for 109 yards. He threw for 2 touchdowns and had 1 interception. Now moving on to N'Kosi Perry, he was 6 for 13 for 33 yards with 1 interception. And also Jaron Williams had some reps in there as well. He was 6 for 8 for 86 yards with 2 touchdowns. Cade Weldon was 6, so he did not participate in this scrimmage. Moving right along to the running backs, Travis Homer had 8 carries for 42 yards and 1 touchdown. DJ Dallas had 9 carries for 37 yards and 1 touchdown as well. Robert Burns had 4 carries for 13 yards, and Lorenzo Lingard had 5 carries for 0 yards. We will talk about that more a little later on in the video. Now let's continue on with some more offensive stats. Wide receivers, Jeff Thomas had 3 catches for 94 yards and 2 touchdowns. Harley had 2 catches totaling 40 yards and 1 touchdown. Lingard actually caught 3 passes totaling 25 yards, so he did not have any rushing yards, but he did get 25 yards from off of the 3 passes that he caught. Cager caught 2 passes for 8 yards, and then Wiggins and several other wide receivers did have 1 catch, but it wasn't really, I guess, noteworthy. It's not necessarily worth mentioning, again, all of the exact specific stats because there's a lot of them, but just note that a lot of the other wide receivers did have catches as well, but those are the big ones that we just discussed. And also keep in mind before we move on to the defensive stats that quarterbacks, Mark Richt is not a big fan of the quarterbacks being live, so they are not allowed to be hit. So when I mentioned the sacks, it's what the refs saw it, that they consider it a sack because there would have been contact made, but just keep in mind that the quarterbacks did not take any contact in this scrimmage. So moving on to the defensive stats, Russo had 7 tackles, 5 of those for a loss, and 4 of those were sacks. So dude, Russo was balling out in this first scrimmage. Bradley Jennings had 7 tackles as well. 2 of those were for a loss and 1 sack, and then he also had 1 pass breakup as well. Patchen had 5 tackles and 3 sacks. I'm sure you're starting to notice a trend here, unfortunately. Unfortunately, but fortunately for the defense. You know, it's good in one hand and bad in another. More on that later as well. Shaq Quarterman had 5 tackles and a pass breakup. Jackson had 4 tackles and a pass breakup as well. Mike Smith had 4 tackles and 1 tackle for a loss. Frierson had 4 tackles, 1 tackle for a loss, and an interception with a 15-yard return on that. So Frierson was really shining in the cornerback group today. Bandy also had 3 tackles, nothing else noteworthy, no interceptions or pass breakups, but he did have 3 tackles. Most of the other big names on defense had at least 1 or 2 tackles, but again, nothing necessarily noteworthy. We want to just hit the big stats in this video. And I know, again, that's a lot of numbers, and that's a lot of numbers real quick. I'm kind of just, you know, probably to a lot of you guys, you just, man, this dude's just throwing numbers out there. I don't really know what I'm doing with my hands here. But I wanted to just give you guys a quick rundown because, again, this is the first scrimmage. Mark Richt was actually quoted saying that they only had about 40 yards of good field to play on, so they didn't even have the whole, they didn't even utilize the entire field. So this was 40 yards or less on most of the plays, and they did some pass scale drills where it's a 7-on-7 with no pass rush. So there were a lot of different little scenarios that they were put in and things on this. So this was just sort of overall stats from the day, and again, there were a lot of different variables that play a part into this, but I did want to get you guys some numbers because, of course, if you're like me, we're still curious how the players are performing, how things are starting to shape up. So I do like to throw these kind of videos in there so we at least have an idea of how some of the players are performing. And now that we have all the numbers out of the way, let's talk about this first scrimmage a little bit. I want to give you guys my thoughts, and I also want to mention that I want you guys to leave your thoughts in the comment section as well. Again, I read all of these comments. This is going to be almost like a scrimmage one forum, and that's what we're going to consider this video. It's an open forum. I want you to put in the comment section your concerns from the scrimmage, the things that you liked about it, the things that surprised you. Leave those in the comment section below and let's talk about it. And again, there's going to be some people, I'm going to let you guys know, that's going to disagree with you. Don't get butthurt over it. I mean, we can argue it, but you know, don't take it to heart. Disagreeing is a good thing to an extent sometimes, and there are going to be people, but again, just what I'm saying is just get in there and let's talk about this. And let's just talk Miami football because I'm pumped. I'm excited that the first scrimmage has happened because that means we're one step closer to the season starting. But anyways, my thoughts on the first scrimmage. First things first, and probably the most important takeaway from this scrimmage, at least for me, is that our offensive line has to improve. It must improve. It has to get better than last season, and honestly how they are performing currently. Pass protection right now sounds like it is a very serious issue. There were at least 8 sacks in this first scrimmage, and another thing, we have some really talented running backs this year, but if our O-line fails to create some running lanes and block better, it's not going to matter. I mean, with the 8 sacks it's just basically what I'm getting at is our offensive line struggled last season. We all know that. And so far, it's not sounding a whole lot better this year. I try to be positive. I'm all about being positive, but I'm also all for constructive criticism. Rick had said that the O-line coach, I'm going blank on his name at the moment, but that he was very frustrated in this first scrimmage. There were also at least 2 false starts on the offensive line today as well. So the offensive line, come on guys, put in some work. Let's get better because that is going to have to improve. We've got so much depth and talent at running back, and we've got so much depth and talent at wide receiver, honestly at every position. But what I'm getting at is our quarterback is going to have time to throw the ball to get to these talented wide receivers. The running back, as talented as they may be, is going to need some blocking and some lanes to put that talent to work and make something happen. So offensive line, guys, get to work and let's improve. Let's get better. Now, at the quarterback position, I know this is very touchy with some of you guys, but at the quarterback position, Rozier is still leading the pack. Rick has said that overall, Rozier has the best understanding on the offense, and he has outperformed the competition so far in the spring. So he led the majority of the reps with the ones today in the scrimmage. Now, the biggest surprise to me is how much Mark Richt praised Jarren Williams, because we all have, we all see that depth chart as Rozier 1, N'Kosi Perry 2. But Richt said that Jarren Williams performed very well today when he was put in there. Now, of course, he's still fairly new, so his understanding of the offense and the way everything works and just adjusting to college ball in general is going to be a step behind. But overall, he surprised everyone by quite a bit today. Apparently, they gave him some reps with the twos over N'Kosi Perry, and he stepped up to the plate and performed very well. So that's honestly super exciting news to know that the quarterback battle is that close. I mean, that there's that much talent at the position. So I'm super excited about that. And don't get me wrong, Rick did note that he was very pleased with Perry's performance, but this is where we get into that O-line argument, because he said he felt like the offensive line did not give him many good opportunities to make a play. Apparently, he was flushed out of the pocket a lot, which he is known apparently right now for kind of doing that. When the pocket collapses, he tends to just roll out and try to gain some yards, which he has the speed, so that's good. But again, our offensive line, it comes back to it, guys. It has to improve. It has to get better. So Perry wasn't really given very many opportunities to make a play because of the offensive line. Now, overall, I feel like that the defense probably outperformed the offense in this first scrimmage. With the amount of pass breakups, sacks, and tackles for a loss, our offense still needs some work. So it is said that the defense won the day overall. The offense was able to score a couple of touchdowns, but overall the defense won the day. They won the scrimmage overall. But the thing is, that's okay, because it's still spring. There's still time to train and time to teach. There's still a lot of work ahead to really be where we want to be. And that's okay, because that's what these practices are about. It's what spring is about. You can always get better. I don't care if you won the national championship last season. Guess what? They're still working to improve and to get better, because you can always get better, always. So again, those are just kind of my thoughts. Offensive line needs to get better. QB battle is still just neck and neck, and the defense is still just as savage as they were last season. But again, we can always put in work and try to improve. And again, leave your comments below with your opinion, concerns, things that you are surprised by, and let's talk it out. Let's just talk about Miami football, because again, I'm so excited. Next week is the scrimmage that is open to the public, the spring game. I will not be there for that, but I know a lot of you guys will, so you guys are going to have to give me some opinions on what you think about that. Again, I will end this video with, you guys are probably tired of hearing it by now, but if we get to 3,000 subs, we're creeping up on 2,500. If we get to 3,000 subs, I have recorded the Miami Hurricanes 2018 season wrap. I already have the video. I will upload it once we get to 3,000 subs, once we reach that milestone. I appreciate the love you guys are always showing the channel. You guys are my family, my Hurricanes family, and it means a lot when you guys get on here and comment on all of these videos. And I feel like we just kind of get to hang out and talk Miami football all year long, so it's a blast. I love it, love making these videos. But remember, guys, we are all one big happy college football family. But at the end of the day, I gotta say, it's always better when you get to rep the U. College football vids, peace out, guys.